Friday. All right, guys. Welcome to, thank you, babe, Kabbalah of Adam. Today, we are going to go over some of the Kabbalah of coronavirus, and we're going to finish up our Parsha in Terumah, where we were going through the temple. But the piece on the coronavirus here, Rabbi Batts and I discussed it every day this week. And so I wanted to go over what we've come up with, and looking at some of the stuff that's going on in the Talmud, as well as stuff that's going on live today. So one of the things is everything has to deal with Yesod. So this pencil is going to be Yesod. This is going to be Messiah ben Joseph. And this is going to be Messiah ben David. And so everything has to work within the Trei Mashiach and Adam. Now, according what a lot of the stuff I'm going to tell you today is coming out of the Ari, coming out of the Gra, and coming from the Leshem. And I'm not going to sit here and just source it all. I'm just going to put it together and tell you this is the sources and this is where it's coming from. So if you have Talmud, run get your Avodah Zoa, because we're going to go to chapter 2 in Avodah Zoa. And if you have Sukkot, chapter 52a, we will be reading out of that. So first off, the word Koved is the same letters, Hebrew letters, is the word kavod. Okay? And this is very important as we get into the discussion of what is going on. The word kavod is most oftenly seen in the second verse of the Shema. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Veyed. But the word Malchut, kingdom, or Malchut ben David, the bottom sphero, the Atara, or the Teret HaYesod, quote, the head of Yesod, known as Corona. A lot of these people say Corona is the queen. Let it be feminine. It is feminine. So, but it's also masculine. Let me see if I can find an example. There's a glass. That's very masculine. That is very feminine. It's a vessel. But it's also phallic. It depends on which side you're looking at. Is it female, the Nukva, Rachel? Yes. Is it Messiah ben David? Absolutely. So this is concave, convex. This is one surface with two sides, is all it is. That's the secret of Messiah ben Joseph, Messiah ben David. So with that in mind, what we have to do is we're going to flesh all this out, and you're going to see how beautifully it lines up in the Parsha where we are today. It's really amazing. So what do we see going on? We see that this COVID-19 is the same word as kavod in Hebrew. That gematria is 32. Now, kavod means to honor or to respect, or glory. Okay? The glory, the honor, all right, which is to the female. Malchuto, Leolam Veyed. Because the first verse is Zah of the Shema, and the second verse is the Nuk. So, when you have this kavod or koved, its gematria is 32, which is in Kabbalah the 32 passive wisdom, the 22 letters, and the 10 sferot. It's pretty astonishing. But it's COVID-19. 19 is Gematria Hava. Because 19 plus 26, the Yud He Vav He, is 45 Adam. Now, the secret of the end times, let's call them, is whether this is a prophecy coming true or whether it's not a prophecy coming true. It doesn't matter. It's a moot point. There's no thus saith the Lord's here. What you have to do is you have to look at what's going on from Adam's point of view. Number one, this is not just affecting certain countries. It has affected the entire world, the entire nukva. Earth is the nukva. It's affected the entire thing. One of the things that happened is everything, we always have to take it back and put it back in the garden, right? Put it back in the garden. So the Nakash is the Sitra Achra, but it's the backside of Messiah ben Joseph. And a lot of people get confused when they study Messiah ben Joseph because Messiah ben Joseph has to die, and we're going to read it today. Which part? The Sitra Achra part. And this is the famous verse in Jeremiah chapter 12, and well, we'll read it later. But anyway, where he was pierced in the side, right? Of course, that word in Hebrew is shekt, cut in the throat. So they change it. But anyway, so we have Koved 32, Kavod, female, 19, Hava. Because once you travel down Yesod, when you get to the Teret HaYesod, this is straight light, not this. This is curved light. This is female. Where did Eve come from? Right here. So when she comes from right here, what developed right there? A thing called an Orla. An Orla is a virus. So this is the place where in her, the Zuhama of the Nakash, the poison of the Nakash, attached itself to Eve. But she's attached herself to Zah. And this is the entire secret of circumcision, is to cut off the virus, to cut off the Zuhama, and to purify the curved light, the female light, Leah, Rachel, Hava, upper, lower, all one thing. This is what happens. This is every, the Noah in the ark, that was the destruction of those worlds. It was nothing more than a giant circumcision. Because, as you well know, and if you've studied with me long enough, Noah is the name of Yesod Adam. Menachem, all right? One of the names, right? So, the secret of Passover is circumcision. So, what we see is this thing started in China pretty much at Hanukkah in December. And it hit here pretty much at Purim is when it really got national attention. Which they're two halves of one thing. That's Netzach and Hod. Now, everybody's thinking, oh, Mashiach's coming in Passover. Don't look for it. Because Mashiach comes at Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh is the head, as is known. Head, same thing. Head, also female, also male, because those are the 2 days of Rachel and Leah, the first 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, where she's separated from Adam, and the whole story of, the 22 days onto Sukkah, all right? So what we have here is we have seen what has happened and with the backside. what is the single most important thing that the backside has done? They go get toilet paper, and lots of it. That is they're waving their flag. When you're more concerned about toilet paper than you are ketchup, or something, you are indicating your coordinate. All right? So, we know from Gittin 57 that Yeshu Hanotri is locked in a vat of boiling feces and all this. It's very clear throughout the Talmud. We know that backside coordinate is where the waste comes from. And so look what's happening in America. The fight's over toilet paper. The fight's not over ribeye steaks or chickens. So you can see right off what they're doing. But what is the tikkun for it? Oh, wash your hands. That's Torah 101. Wash your hands. That's Torah 101. And distancing. So what has happened is, never before in the history of the world has the entire world been locked down and not had to fight each other. It's unprecedented. Each country is locked unto its own, and each family is locked unto its own. All right? And so, first time in history, no religion is happening. And I put Judaism in there as well. Judaism is nothing but a religion. If Judaism wasn't a religion, they wouldn't have the Sephardi, the Ashkenazi, the Chabad, the Karaite, the Yemenite, the yada, yada, yada-ite. They wouldn't have it. Because Torah doesn't work without a temple. Religion doesn't work without a temple. When there is no temple, religions are going to be met, and they'll all say, "Oh, we don't poskin that way." Well, all halakha is going to come from the Gemara, which is oral Torah, and you can't poskin from the Agadah. It's crazy, but they've been doing it for almost 2,000 years, or since the Rambam anyway. And because they only pick one view. Well, we don't go by what Rebbe Meir says. Well, that's fine, but you're only getting half the truth. A machloket is two halves of one thing, and we're going to go through a machloket today in this Torah piece that Rav Bali shows us with the size of the copper altar table out there, and it's going to blow you away when he goes through the Gemara and explains it, how the machloket works. It's going to blow you away. But everybody will pick one side. So religion in and of itself has been absolutely stopped, thank God. Okay? It's been absolutely stopped. So and if you watch Facebook and everything, you really see the religion coming out of everybody. Pray, 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 pray. Oh, Jesus is blah, 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 blah. It's going crazy. All right? Problem is, they don't have any answers. All they have is questions. What about this? What about that? What about this? Only Torah has answers. So now you can't go listen to what your preacher says anymore. Thank God. You can't go listen to this and this, that, and the other. All right? The money has stopped. People are not going to send their money to the preachers, and they're not going to send their money to the Noahide Academy anymore. It has come to a screeching halt because people are going to now take care of themselves. Whether this thing pans out and gets back, it's not going to be the old normal. It will be a new normal. And in fact, I think that it's going to even get worse economically, no matter how much money they throw at it, because money doesn't fix this problem. Now, I did a class a year ago when we did Daniel. When we were going through Daniel, remember when we were going through the Adam Blia, all the backside, the head of copper, the silver, the head of gold, arms of silver, chest of copper, legs of iron, and feet of clay and iron. And remember I said, according to Daniel, clay and iron don't mix, and it will bring down the kingdom of Esau and the kingdom of Ishmael. All right. Well, for 8 years we had Obama, and Barack Obama is clearly a Muslim name. He's clearly a Muslim. Everybody knows that. So we then we got it into Congress and all that stuff, and we could see over the last year, or at least 3 years since Trump's been president, how the degradation of the nation with Islam and Christianity did not mix, and it was oil and water. The same thing has been happening in Europe. You know, London's got a Muslim mayor, and there's Muslims everywhere, and it has absolutely devastated that country, which those two countries are Esau. And because we both are Esau, next week I'm going to do Obadiah, which is the prophecy of Adam. I'm going to do the entire book. Because Elijah, he saved Elijah, Obadiah did, and Obadiah is the Ger of all Gers, and Elijah is the mouthpiece of Messiah. He is the sandalphon that announces Mashiach. So if he's telling Obadiah, this is what you do, then we'll get a whole better insight on what's going to happen to the kingdoms of Edom. All right. So back to Corona a little bit. So we have 32 wisdom, 19 Hava. In order for Hashem, Adam, to fix the tikkun, there's plenty of Torah sources, and we're going to go through some of them today, that say it doesn't matter if you pray, it don't matter if you fast, it don't matter if you do anything. It's already been done. Number one, Hashem has a contract with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Just like in Egypt, they didn't have any merit. That's one of the reasons they had to get out so fast, because they didn't have any merit. Even though they started circumcision on the night, and they put the blood on the doorpost to indicate circumcision was going on, it's always circumcision. The blood is always circumcision. You know, if you're washed in the blood, you're a vampire. So this circumcision is always happening, because that is the penetration of the straight light into the klipa, then it cuts it off, then it goes further and further and further. This is what happens. This is how God expands himself. So we have a global shutdown, and what you're going to see is when we go through this Gemara piece here, you'll see it. Okay. If y'all have any other questions, throw it on there, because I'm trying to remember some of the things we've talked about during the week, and some of the things that are going on within. Hashem says, I will gather you with great compassion. Great compassion is hesed. All right. And so one of the things you're seeing right now is Jews that are trapped all over the world. El Al, the Israeli airplane, not Air Force, but passenger jets, you know, commercial airlines, they're flying all over the world bringing those Jews home, which it's forcing them out. Let's see. Guvurot. This whole world's built in Guvurot, right? This is the Guvurot of the Guvurot. What does Guvurot like to do? It likes to coagulate. Okay, it's multiplicity, and it likes to coagulate and make goo, heaviness, pulling down. All right. How do you mitigate Guvurot? You separate it. The distancing, the separation, the lockdown. It is taking all of the Guvurot away from each other, and it's draining the power of the Guvurot, mitigating it in an unprecedented way globally. It's not just here. All right. So if we start looking at some of the mechanisms, and when God says that I will gather you in great compassion, and we know Gog and Magog is Gematria 70. It's the 70 nations that attack Israel. Okay, but this and the destruction of that Gog and Magog is well known in Kol HaTorah and everything else. It's a circumcision. It's removing the Orla, the Klipa, the virus of the 70. Now, if a virus started it, a virus has to attack it. Just like it's like versus like through Torah. Y'all seen it in this class year after year. If you get bit by a snake, what do you get? Antivenom from the snake. So just as a virus started it, there's now a virus attacking it. Now, it's non-discriminatory. It's going to kill holy as well as profane. That's because God always uses a natural course. The Uri died in a plague. I think the Ramchal even died in a plague. So it's not selective. But it will get rid of all of the Klippa. And what do we say? I just saw it on the TV a while ago. 900 people died today in Rome, Italy. Really? In Rome? I wonder why. And we see Rome has been really, really attacked. And because it's the head of the Klippa, of the other side, of Esau. So we're starting to see some things. If it all comes to pass, fine. But what is Adam doing? So if you have your sukkah, turn to page 52a, 1. I'll give you a second to get there, toward the end of the book, 52a1. And it's at the top left paragraph there. It's talking about the mournful eulogy of the evil inclination. The evil inclination. The Sitra Achra, when it will have no power over them. Yet the Torah said that the men will gather and mourn separately and the women will mourn separately. Then now, at the water drawing celebration, when they are occupied and rejoicing, which is naturally leads to frivolousness, the evil inclination has not yet been eradicated, has power over them. Certainly, it is necessary to see that the sexes do not mix with each other, and this is one of the reasons why they separate the men and women. The Gemara turns its attention to the verse that has just been cited. What is the nature of this eulogy that the verse describes? The Gemara replies, Rav Dosi and rabbis disagree about it. We got a machloket. One said that it was the eulogy for the Messiah descending from the tribe of Joseph. So one says it's Messiah ben Joseph that dies. And if you get your Tanakh out, go grab your Tanakh. I just had my Tanakh. Baby, you got my Tanakh over there? My Tanakh? Oh, here it is. Tanakh, go to Jeremiah chapter 12. Zechariah. Zechariah, verse 12, chapter 12 rather, and verse 10. I will pour out upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem a spirit of grace and supplication. They will look toward me because those whom have they, and my Bible says stabbed, but the Christian Bible will say pierced. Those whom they've pierced. And I see that's Jesus on the cross. No, the word here is dakar. Now, they will mourn over him as one who mourns over a child, and y'all know the verse. Y'all have been taught it since Sunday school. So one rabbi says this is Messiah ben Joseph, who would have been killed in battle. While one said it will be for the evil inclination that had been killed, eradicated at the future time. The Gemara questions the second view. Doesn't question the first view right here. Questions the second. It is understandable, according to the one that said the eulogy will be for Messiah descending from Joseph who had been killed. This is the way you mourn. The mourn will be bitter. As it is written, they will look towards me as one they have stabbed. It's literally checked if you get into what it's going on. Rabbi Yehuda, and it says, but according to the one who says that the eulogy is for the evil inclination who would have been killed, does that warn a eulogy? On the contrary, it warns a celebration, right? If the Sitrachar has been killed, yay. But not so. Rabbi Yehuda expounded, in the future, the Holy One, blessed be He, will bring the evil inclination and slaughter it in the presence of the righteous and in the presence of the wicked. To the righteous, the evil inclination will appear like a high mountain that cannot be scaled. To the wicked, it will appear like a strand of hair that should have been easily snapped. These will weep, and these will weep to weep. The righteous will weep and say, how were we able to overcome such a high mountain? And the wicked will weep and say, how were we not able to overcome such a strand of hair? And so to the Holy One, blessed is He, will wonder with them. How could you not have done this? So if death is a lower state of living. So if this pencil is erect and it goes down, that is the death of Messiah ben Joseph. It's in a dead state. But you got to understand, Messiah ben Joseph is only connected to Messiah ben David. It's one continuum. So for there to be a Messiah ben David, this is called the res erection, like it sounds. Now we're at Davidic Messiah. Now it's the head, it's the koron, it's the top, it's the keter. Malchut keter. Okay? It's always the formula. This is the vav, 6. How far do they tell you to stay away from a person? 6 feet. Why? Why not 5? Why not 7? Why not 3 feet? 6 feet. I wonder why. All right? Everything we studied built in the temple is always, he multiplies everything by the vav, by 6. Why? The whole temple is recreating Yesod Adam. So, the Gra says, what happens is this. As you're going along Messiah ben Joseph, when you get right here to the Atarah, there's a wall. Because it's the koron. You have to go around the lip, so to speak. And then it's a slope downhill. He said that this right here is the spot known as Gog. And this is the spot of the circumcision. And this is the spot of the virus. This is where it is attached to, because it doesn't have anything here. It has to be cut off right here. This is the secret of circumcision. So let's turn now to Avodah Zorah. Avodah Zorah. So if you have your Talmud, go to Avodah Zorah 2a2. Let me see if there's any other thing we need to... No, that pretty much covers that. Avodah Zorah 2a2. Right hand column. The Gemara cites an agadic teaching that expounds the aforementioned verse, let them bring their witnesses and they will be vindicated. Everybody wants to come God and bring their witnesses. We've served you, the Ishmael, we served you Allah, and the Christians, we served you Jesus, and everybody's gonna bring their witnesses and tell them how good they've been. Rav Hanina Bar Papa expounded, this is the bottom paragraph on the right-hand column. And some say it was Rav Simlay who expounded. In the future to be, babe, could you turn it down a second? Yes. In the future to be, the Holy One, blessed be He, will bring a Torah scroll and place it in His bosom and declare, who has ever occupied himself with it, i.e. Torah, shall come and take its reward. Now, in the explanation, the word here, bosom, so in other words, he's going to have a book like this. You don't know, they're not going to know if it's the Quran or if it's the New Testament, if it's King James or if it's the Torah. But Hashem is the Torah. But the word there is bosom, but it is also translated as lap. And the sages tell us the reason it is said in this manner is the Torah itself is Zah, and the lap is the Nukva, and that is their union. So he is in the Zah and Nuk are in union. This is why it is written in that manner. On the Peshat is, yes, he's holding it like this, but the Sod is the oral and the written Torah are together. Immediately, the idol worship will gather and come in disarray. That word there is erbuvia. It's the same root as mixture, means mixture. It's the same word as Erev Ra, erbuvia. You can hear it, okay? So what has happened? He's going to go on in this piece to tell them, do not come before me in erbuvia. Line up. Everybody line up and get in your lane and get every country within itself. Look what's happened to our borders. Every border is closed. There, ships, planes, everything closed. It can't line up anymore. The one who taught Edahin, it's with an aleph. These are the witnesses. It's spelled with an aleph, is not mistaken. For it is written, for the day of their destruction is near. We'll find the root ed, or it is with aid is with an olive, used to reference the downfall of idolaters. The one who taught Edahin is with an ayin, is not mistaken either. Let him bring their witnesses. So one is spelled with an aleph, and one is spelled with an ayin. The 1 and the 70. So what happens? Israel is the one with the aleph, and the other witnesses are the 70 nations. What are they going to bring? They're going to bring, well, we did Christmas and we did Easter. And look what Trump said. He goes, we got to be back by Easter. Why would he pick that day? Because that's what the Klippa would do. He wouldn't say, oh man, we need to be back by Pesach and definitely by Shavuot, we got to be running back in America again. No. We got to be back by Easter because people got to get back in churches. The other God, the God of the other side, is losing its power. It's being choked out. And it's scrambling for everything it can get. So I wanted to bring that piece in and show y'all how that he's done it. He's separated everything. Everything is in its lane now. There's no mixture. And so if this thing, best case scenario, in a couple months, things get better and everybody kind of goes back and da-da-da-da-da. But if worst case scenario, this thing persists into summer and into the fall, and there's no more colleges, there's no more college, there's no more school, which means there's no more NCAA sports, and the colleges are going to fold because they don't have any money, and there's no more pro athletics, and that's going to fold, and everybody is now reset, equal button, all right, and then the world will turn and blame the Jews. You can bet on it automatically. And if it persists to the election day, they're going to run on a platform of look, the stock market's at nothing. See, we've been trying to tell you, if you don't have the government to take care of you, you're never going to make it. This could happen again, and they're going to run in fear, and they're going to control everybody. And Trump's going to be gone, and they're going to put in whosoever, maybe Bernie, whoever, but whoever it is going to be anti-Semitic. You can bet. And so I think that's worst case scenario. So without further ado, I want to take y'all through a little deal. Let's look in. See here. See here. Turn to Isaiah. Isaiah 48. Even in 42 it says, I am Hashem, that is my name. I shall not give my kavod to another, my glory to another, nor my praise to graven idols. Let's go to 48. There's a big verse here. Now, 48 verse 11. This is talking about the redemption of the house of Jacob. This is talking about Israel, right? For my sake, comma, for my sake I will do it. For how can I let my name be profaned? And if you see Facebook, there's more Yahoos and Yahwehs and Yahai-doas, and it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. He's not going to let his name be profaned. I will not cede my glory to another. In other words, the Gra tells us, and the Lesson tell us, that at the end of days, teshuvah, prayer, none of it's going to matter. He's going to do it for his own sake, because he is Adam, and he is going to redeem the Shekhinah and the Nukva, Hava, whatever you want to call it, for his own sake. Because what has happened is the suffering of the Jews for the last 4,000 years, and the teshuvah and the tikkun. Teshuvah means return to Torah. And the mitzvahs that they've done have added up and added up and added up and added up. And right here, you're at a wall. And that's when he's going to take over. When it gets right to that point, he's going to take over, and there's no amount of prayer or mitzvah or anything that's going to push it any further, because he's going to take over and do it on his own. Because what are we but nothing? I'm not saying don't pray and don't read the Psalms and all that stuff, but he's going to do it. The Gra states this in the book, the Evan Shlema, if you're interested. This is, with circumcision, there has to be blood. But to convert, one surface, two sides, to convert the 70 through, then it only takes a little blood. So hopefully this coronavirus here is the Hesed of God, where it's killing off just the orla is just dying. The klipa is just in and of itself is just dying, and there's which is called a little blood, versus World War III with bullets and nukes and where just the blood's just horrendous. So there's a story about the king who gave an order to stone his son. That if anybody transgresses the law, there this big stone is dropped on him. Okay, and so the king, the prince gets caught. Well, the king has to give the edict of the law to the prince. So what does he do? He commands the stonemasons to go out there and to break the stones, that big stone, into many, many little bitty pieces and throw one pebble after another at the son until because God can't transgress his word. This stone has to be thrown at that kid, right? But how does he do it? So if you look back at the history of the Jews, in even recent history with the Holocaust and the creation of Israel, you had the 6-Day War, 7-Day War, you had the Lebanon War, you had the War of Egypt, you have Syria always at them, you have Hamas daily. They're always getting a stone, always. All right, because that is the teshuvah for them. As soon as there's no more rocks, then that's it. Then the edict has been done, and he will redeem it for himself on his own. And so if you zoom out and look at it fractally like Adam would be looking at it, you can see how there has been exile after exile after death after death after death. This is the Messiah ben Joseph dying, right? For the last 6,000 years, starting with Abel. So as we go through, now we're at that. Now we're at this area right here. Will it happen this year? I don't know. Next 50 years, maybe so. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's moot. We can see what's happening now live in our time globally, and it's real, and everybody knows it. And as soon as I went to the store today, they had everything in the store I needed. I mean, steaks, everything in the world. The only thing they didn't have was toilet paper, and I just had to laugh, you know? So let's go to our parsha here. One of the other things we talked about, just real quick, is this virus came from an animal, like a bat. Very nakashi, right? But it jumped to the human level. What did the nakash do? Animal jumped to the human level with Eve. There's just so many little similarities going on with what's going on here, because the garden, it's happening. It's not that it happened in the garden. It's happening in the garden right here on the 6th day. When did it happen then? The 6th day. When does it happen now? It's almost the 6,000th year. So, here we go. So we are going to start here. In chapter, go to Terumah, go to Exodus. And I think y'all are going to really like this. Exodus 26. And last time we discussed the sockets, if y'all remember, because the sockets are basically the word Adonai. We see the word Adonai there. Those were the sockets. You shall make a tabernacle with planks 20 to the south. You shall make 40 silver sockets, 20 planks, 2 sockets, and going on and that way. So let's see. I think we covered that. Yeah, so I think we covered. Yeah, we did. We covered the 50 planks. Those are the five Hasidim containing 10. That's 50. So we did the loops, and we explained why they were doubled. So now we are in verse, I think, 11? Yes, we're in verse 11, 26:11. We talked about the 11 curtains and all the things of 11. But it says something here in 26:11. It says, you shall make 50 hooks of copper, and you shall bring the hooks into the loops and attach the tent so that it shall become one. This is very important. And of course the Takashkin. So let's get into Rav Bali here and see what he says. And as we change verses, I will tell you sort of where we're at. Also, look in verse 6. You shall make 50 hooks of gold, and you shall attach the curtains one to another with the hooks, so that the tabernacle shall become one. The word for curtain, yera or yerot, is from Isaiah 42:13. Isaiah 42. It's also a word. It's also a word for a sound or a shout. This word curtain can also be the word for sound or shout or roar over his enemies. As it says, Hashem will go forth like a mighty warrior. He will arouse vengeance like a man of war. He shall shout triumphantly, even roar, and he will overpower his enemies. What is the enemy? Sitra Achra, the other side. So, the curtain overpowers the enemy. All the vessels of war are given unto her hand to fight, the other side. All the more so in the desert, where the Mishkan is, where all the Hitzonim are, the 42 places on the back side that they had to go correct, right? The curtain is a shield that fights off and protects her. This is how she breaks the power of the other side. This is how the Mishkan breaks the power of the other side. The curtain contains a sound wave, like its wave form. That the male is only half, but a sound like the trua of a shofar. You know that the male is only half of the body unless it's united with a female. So this is Adam's structure, and the inner structure is the Hava structure, the female structure. He says it's only united with the female. Therefore, after the planks and loops, the male and female, planks and loops, they are the yesodot, the plural of the male, and the secret of the tenons, which you'll see the tenons are, if you look in 26:17, each plank should have 2 tenons. Those are like caps. You know, this would be a cap on the plank. The tenons, which are the caps on the ends, so the tabernacle should become one. So once they're building this thing, they're putting it together like a puzzle, so that it locks into place, so that all the male and female components are in union. In the secret of Echad, one body, that is becoming one through all these interconnections, the interconnected tissues, and these are the power of the holy nerves, the sinews, as we've discussed in the last class. Now you must put flesh on it. Why? Because you're building a body. It's got to have everything. We've got the heart, the lungs, all the things that the temple has in it. We got to put the flesh on it, which are the skins, because why do you use skins? Because skin and hair, goat hair, because it's din, red meat. Also, goats themselves have hair that come from din. It's alluded to in the name Azim or Oz, like Azah and Uzazel. The power of Az and Azazel, the goat head. This is why the satanics use the goat head, because it's from din. But how do you kill din? With din. How do you kill the Zuhama virus of the Nakash? With a virus. When mitigated, it's holy, and it can be used at Passover. Since the meat surrounds the body, it's like a tent. Only these curtains are called a tent. The inner ones are not called a tent. They are the nerves that send the signal to the whole body. Therefore, it says, make the tent. It says, make the tent to cover it, like the meat covers your body from head to feet. Therefore, the external has the advantage that is encompassing, and it has a greater number. 10 plus the Takash is 11. So these are likened to the 11 incense, the 11-day journey. Why? Because 11 is Noga. The Noga is the part that fights the Klippa. Because in the Noga area, which is the Gerim area, right? The din kills the din. Because the flesh is in the Sod of the Hitzonim and pushes them away. So just like your flesh, if you cut your flesh, infection can get in, right? But if you're covered with flesh, it's going to keep bacteria and infection, the Hitzonim virus, out of your body. So too the skins on the Mishkan. It is for this reason that the length of the skins is longer in the external. The word ashteh, Aramaic, is noga, 11. It's not a Hebrew term. Why? Because it's a noga term. In verse 8. In verse 8 there it says 11 curtains. That term there is not the word for 11. It's an Aramaic term, which means the Torah is indicating to you that it's an external thing. It's a noga thing. The entire measurement is 34. The outer is greater by the inner, which is 32. So the inner is 32, the outer is 34. All the holy levels are 10, not 11, not 9. What's with this 11? What is the default? It is the default of the number of the backside. It's the secret of the 11 curses. Anything 10 relative to 11 is holy relative to non-holy. The quality is greater than the quantity, as if the Klippa is holding on to it, he says. Look at Israel, the heart of the nations and the key to the world. Yet they're the smallest. But even in the external dimensions, there must be balance. Tikkun must exist in these circuits. Therefore, the same measurements for the Takash must be lined up. Even in the externals, all the levels between male and female. Yet in this case, the female is greater than the male. Because there's 5 curtains, verse 9, you shall attach 5 curtains separately and 6 curtains separately. Why is 1 5 and 1 6? They're supposed to be equal. Because here, he says, the reason for the asymmetry, the 5 are the Hasidim, and the 6 is the level of the female, which is the secret of the liver, the nephesh of the blood, where it is larger, where the bile duct sits on the liver. What you got to understand, we're building, constructing a person, all right? So the length is part of the nephesh aspect, because we're fixing to make a partition, because the next thing in Torah here is the partition. And what do you have a partition in your body? If you have your heart and you have your 2 lungs, the next thing is your diaphragm, and it's separating, and then the floor the floor of the pelvic is going to be the next separation. And the yesod is going to be the copper table. Why do you think there's blood there? Well, that's why you do sacrifices. Why do you think that is? You make it out of acacia wood. All this thing is made out of acacia wood. 15, you shall make the planks out of acacia wood, standing erect. Phallic, so. Why acacia wood? Y'all are going to love this. Because acacia wood has more, this is coming from Bax, is the wood that has the most DMT in it. It's more powerful than ayahuasca. Everything in the temple and the Mishkan is made out of this wood. It is the highest conductor of DMT. Planks are the yesod of the male. Just like in the body, you have 2 lungs and a heart. Therefore, the Aron, the ark, is in the Holy of Holies. And then when you bring in the ark with the 2 keruv on it, the partition is the diaphragm. It separates the stomach, which is separating the Holy of Holies from the Holies. Why the Holy of Holies? These are the 3 lights, the Chabad, Hok Mabina Das. They are channeled through it. This is why it's called the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies. Kodesh is 1, HaKodoshim is 2. Those are the 3 things, the 3 lights. That's the Chabad, the brand, the Mohim. That's literally, when they say Holy of Holies, they're really saying Hok Mabina Das. They draw down all the lights to the ark. Just like all the lights are in the brain and go to the heart to give life and function to the whole body. Just like the heart is formed first and it gives life. Then the lungs grow next to it. So if you've ever seen an embryo growing, you know it starts out with the little brain, which is what's in the Ark of the Covenant. And then the little heart starts beating, all right? And then you have the spinal cord, and then the little lungs start growing. The way an embryo forms is exactly in the order that Moses was told to build the Mishkan. Identical. In the order all the organs themselves come forth. They're building it. As below, so above, and vice versa. Therefore, the ark is placed in the Holy of Holies. Then build around it. So what they had to do is they had to build the ark, put the ark in its place. Then they had to build the Mishkan around it. So they didn't assemble it and then take the ark in there. No, they built everything around the ark, just like creation in the womb. After this, you place the table in the antechamber in the holies. The kasha is, why is this place outside the holies? We explained already that the menorah is the face of the whole structure. Why is it outside the Holy of Holies? This face, which is on top of the table with the 7 gates, and it directs the whole body. If you were to place it in the Holy of Holies, it would not illuminate to the lower worlds, because the Holy of Holies is closed off. Just like your heart and your chest cavity is closed off. Your head is external. Your face is external. How would reality benefit from the light? The Holy One ordered it placed in the holies. It is sufficient that it is placed on the right side on the south, and on the important side, that's the south of Hasidim, and the table placed on the north side, which is the secret of the Guvarot or the den. The brain and the heart are alluded to in the ark of the Holy of Holies, and this is the source of all the supernal lights, and it spreads and comes between the cheruvim, and the menorah is only the manifestation of the lights on the outside to be revealed. Even in the holies, the Kohanim only enter there to do service. All the others go out and do their service into the courtyard. They are not allowed to see it. Therefore, you need an additional coverage in order to prevent them from looking at what cannot be seen. There's a statement that says, do not prevent good to those who need it. So the kasha is, why are the children of Israel kept out from, they're kept out from the Holy of Holies, they're kept out from the holies, why are they kept out in the courtyard? Only the Kohen goes into the Holy of Holies, and only the lesser Kohanim go into the holies. Why are they kept out? Because the Torah says Israel is holy to Hashem. Know this, he says. Even the courtyard is holy. What part of Adam is not holy, right? Therefore, if you are there, you get the Kedusha from the whole thing. But the level is increased in the holies. The Hazal says there are 10 levels of Kedusha. And in the exile, the Shekhinah lost it in 10 stages. So it's in the Torah. So first she loses this, first she loses that. First, in other words, first she left the courtyard. Then she left the copper leg. Then she left the entrance of the holies. Then she left the holies. Then she left this. So it was in 10 stages that it left, okay? And don't quote me on that. I'm just telling you that's how it happened. There is a Gemara on it, but I didn't look it up. The holies, it says, in this level there is more than the courtyard. If they override their boundaries, there will be damage. Just as it was when the Torah were given. God told them, Moses, you and the 70 elders, y'all come up here, everybody else stay down there. You can't do it. You don't have the vessel to contain this light. Therefore, these separations are the tikkun for the lower realms so that it will not damage them. This is really a hesed that he's doing here. Therefore, make it from the colors of the keruv. So if you'll look in 26:31, you shall make a partition, turquoise, purple, scarlet wool, linen twisted. And look at this, with a woven design of keruv. And then at the end of 32, you will make it with sockets. And then look at the 33 at the end of this sentence. And the partitions shall separate for you between the holy and the Holy of Holies. And then look at this. It goes from partition to verse 36. It says, you shall make a screen. Why does it go from partition to a screen? Well, let's find out. So he's making it, you got to make it with these colors because the curtain contains all the inner curtains. Therefore, it has all the lights from the inner ones. The proof that all the partitions are for the benefit of the lower realm is where it says in verse 33, this separation is for you. God's literally doing this for you. This structure is for you, and it's for your benefit and for your pleasure. This is not for God. Ultimately. Why does it say go from partitions to screen? Know this, Ravali says. The Kedusha in the external place is lighter in nature. In the name Elohim, Elohim has 120 permutations. Masak is Gematria 120, which is screens. Screens are Elohim. And the Keruvim serve at this level as well. Why are there 5 pillars of acacia wood? These are the 5 letters of Elohim with the screens. But the screen was placed on only 4 poles, not 5. Why? Because those are the 4 letters of the Havayah. And we have 4 silver sockets. Why 4 silver sockets? Those are the 4 letters of the Aleph Dalet Nun Yud of the Adonai. To show that the Holy One is always in union. The Havayah with the Elohim with the Adonai. This is the unification of the Holy One. Chapter 27. I know we're kind of going long here, but I want to finish this. We're at the, won't take as long here, 5 minutes. We're going to finish this whole thing at the altar because this is what you have to hear. The altar. Rav Bali says, the secret of the altar is this. There are actually 2. The inner one and the outer one. The inner one's just called a table. Placed in the north of the courtyard, which is Guvarot. As in Psalms 23, where he will prepare a table before my enemies. This table is Leah before his enemies. She's going to wipe them out. This is the place where you eat. Eating is union. It is the source that channels the sustenance. In Ezekiel's 3rd temple, the outer altar is called a table. It's not called an altar. Because they are all one and the same. The table inside is the sustenance. The table outside is the extension of that sustenance. The inner table, as the incense altar, is Leah. It's concealed behind the partition. The external altar is Rachel, the revealed. However, both are considered as one. If you will turn to Ruth chapter 4, verse 11. Where's my Ruth at? Oh my God. Ruth. Verse 11, then all the people who were at the gates and the elders said, we are witnesses. May Hashem make the woman who is coming into our house like Rachel and like Leah, both. Both. Of whom built up the house of Israel. So, This is like the tefillin knot and the base of the spine. It's one continuum. Rachel, Leah, it's one continuum. What's like this? This would be Rachel, Leah, and this would be Rachel. But what happens? Then Rachel. David. Okay. They are one and the same. For this reason, the outer altar did the korbanot of bread. They did korbanot of bread on it too. Just like in Leviticus chapter 5. For sin, if you can't afford to bring a sacrifice, bring flour. Bring flour. Now this next thing is going to absolutely take a Christian mind and blow it away. Turn it inside out. Because the secret of the altar is the expansion of all the levels from the very inside of the Holy of Holies to the very outside. The word altar, mezba'ah, is Gematria 58, which is zan, which means sustenance. This is how God sustains the world. It is made 5 by 5. If you'll look in verse 1, you shall make the altar acacia wood 5 cubits in its length and 5 cubits in its width. Why 5 by 5? These are the 2 sets of Manatzapak, the final letters, the nun and the final nun. It's the 5 finals. Because Manatzapak is 280 par dinim. Remember you have the par dinim. I don't have my board here, I'm sorry, but you have the rapak, the shock, and the par. That's where we get the word paraduma or red heifer. At the shattering of the vessels in Nekodim, it's split into 3 different things. This is Genesis verse 2, chapter 1. Because this is the par dinim. On these 2 sets, Rachel is built. She is guvarot, and that is a root. These guvarot now extend out of her limbs to make her a partsuf. The verse is clear. It has to be square. Look at there. The altar shall be square. It has to be equal in size and length and in dimension. Because it has to be balanced. It has to be 3 amma high. 3 cubits high. You see that? So, Ravali says, this is a machloket. So there's a piece of Gemara where these 2 rabbis are saying, it's not 3, it's 30. Rav Yossi says, well, let me back up. The machloket is, Rav Yehuda says, it's like it is. It says it's 3 high, so it's 3 high. Rav Yossi says, no, it's doubled. Rav Yehuda says it's 3 high and the curtains are 5, just like it says. Rav Yossi says that the altar is 10 high and the curtains are 5 higher than that. So one of them is looking at it from the Peshat and one of them is looking at it from the Sod. That's what a machloket is. 3D view, 4D view. Which one is it? Who's looking at the Sod? Is it Yossi? And who's looking at the Peshat? Is it Yehuda? Or is it the other way around? Is the one who says it's written like it is he telling the Peshat? Or is he telling the Sod? Even though it appears they are arguing, Yehuda is talking about the Nahi of Zah, the Netzach Hod Yesod of Zah, the 3, where Rachel is rooted. It sounds like the Sod to me. Yossi is including her 10 levels in her 3 high. the Sefer of Yossi is true with the Peshat. But Yehuda is true with the Yesod, with the secret. What? Yehuda just got through explaining the Nahi and the 10 levels and all that, where Yehuda just says, no, it is what it is. Because Yehuda already knows that all her levels are included in the 3. So that's why he stuck with that, because that is the Sod. So when you know the Peshat, when you know the Sod, it is the Peshat. That's the secret of Torah that nobody knows. If you do not know the Sod, you do not know the Peshat. It's impossible. Yehuda already knew that they were included. All the more so with the copper mesh that goes around the middle of this structure. We're going to talk about the horns too. It shall have horns, and you're going to have this copper mesh. If you have a chumash, it looks like that. And that's the copper mesh that goes around. And there's the horns right there. So, what's the secret? This is heavy duty. The secret of the copper mesh that goes around the middle is the Sitra Achra that grabs a hold of the lower levels. And they cannot go any higher than half. These are the Ahiza, the Hitzonim, the forces of the other side. Because you have to feed the other side as well. Above the belt is the Nahi of Zah, Netzach Hod Yesod, which is Rachel's root. That's where the horns are. This is the head of the Nukva. This is her Chabad. Chabad is Hasidim, Bina Das, right? Hokmah Bina Das. That's just 3. But Da'at is split into 2. It has its own Hasidim and Guvarot. Therefore, it's 4. Therefore, this is the secret. It contains 4. This is the secret. Look and see that in the episode where the guy's grabbing the horns of the altar because he thinks he's safe there. He grabs the horns of the altar to save himself from judgment because the Hitzonim have no power in the upper part of the Nukva. And he knew that. But what he didn't realize is that this judgment was coming from holiness, like Nadav and Avihu, not the Sitra Achra. It's the din that comes from Kedusha, and it is not possible to save yourself at all. The verse says, the corners have to be out of it. Look in the verse there. From it shall its horns be. See that? In verse 2, you shall make its horns on its 4 corners. From it shall its horns be. It's got to be one piece. You can't just make the deal and drop a horn on it. It's a mold. It's got to be one continuum because it's your brain. It has to be made all at once because you do not make a body and then attach its head. It has to be copper because copper is Teferet. The light from Teferet, Zah, extends to the Nukva as is known. Also, copper alludes to the holy Nakash. Uh-oh. There it is in Rav Valley. We've been talking holy Nakash forever. I got a source. Right here in Rav Valley. It's the holy Nakash. You have the Sitra Achra, but you also have the holy Nakash because it's made of copper. What did Moses put up in the desert? The copper serpent. This is why. This is the Nakash of Kedusha, the holy serpent. That's why Nakash 358 and Mashiach 358 are the same gematria. Because one serpent, two sides. Because the word copper, nekoshet, sounds just like Nakash. It is the secret of the copper serpent. It is aroused to battle the Nakash of the Klippa in its realm. It is to weaken the power of the Nakash, and it will not lift its head and go above its appropriate boundary to the top of the table there, the altar. The angelic forces must be from the same aspect to help him battle. Those are the secret of the poles. As we've discussed, the angels were the poles before. The vessels are the keruv, and the poles must be copper. Then this is Nakash against Nakash. The energies of the root have to be in harmonics, in a harmonic balance, which is how it makes tikkun against itself. Even through this, even though this is not the nature of these angels, they still are copper to secure their boundaries. So every level has the angels going up. So here's the deal. We're talking about Rachel. So why do you have to put blood on the altar? Because the altar is the Teret HaYesod. That's where the circumcision takes place. It has nothing to do with the blood of the animal, so to speak. It is indicating the nefesh and the circumcision that happens. So this is why the covenant of the new covenant is for Israel, because it has to be done with the blood that is circumcision, and it's still indicating circumcision on the altar. Has nothing to do with the slaughtering of animals. It's all about removing the klipa. What did Solomon do on the day he established the first temple? He sacrificed 70 bulls on the altar. Why? He started at 13, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. So he went backwards to 70. Why did he do that? Because he was taking the power, diminishing the power away from the 70 nations. The 70 nations is only the orla of the Yesod of Adam, which is caused by the virus in the Gan of the Zohama of the Nakash. So, with that, we have a whole new understanding of what this cosmic viral circumcision is looking like. It's going to affect the good and the bad. It may even get me. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is Adam is doing it, and the whole world is lined up, and they're not in erbuvia, as it says in Avodah Zohar. The Torah is amazing. The sages are amazing. Have a great Shabbat, and I'll see y'all next week with Obadiah.